Governor Fubara of Rivers State has declared that intimidation has a time frame and it expires at the right time. He stated this at the state's government house in Port Harcourt. Fubara's declaration comes amid his continued face-off with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike. Since October 30, 2023, Rivers State has been embroiled in a political crisis. Let me start with you, Henry.
Okay.
All right. What is your take on the statement by Governor Fubara that intimidation has its limits and its expiry date?
It does
and
have.
What does he mean by intimidation?
That's the thing. It does have. Let me start off with a general note. Intimidation would certainly have a lifespan.
Okay.
In many ways. Perhaps the person who is intimidating the victim may pass on. The person who is intimidating the victim may lose the power source of that intimidation. The victim may become, at some point, more powerful than the intimidator, in quote. So these are some circumstances that can lead to it, whoever is involved. And then sometimes, on a positive note, reconciliation can actually even end that intimidation. So certainly it's a statement of fact that intimidation may have a lifespan and then it will end. Now, to put in context, Governor Fubara, who is intimidating him? What is the nature of intimidation? Putting in actual context here now. When did it begin? If he says it has expired, excellent, right? So these are fundamental questions for me. But again, being a political science scholar, and then having read The Republic by one McGonagall, and then you will refer that for someone who follows on closely with the power tussle, even in the global power struggle, you find that there's a reference to Cold War. Cold War, you may not really see a physical confrontation in terms of firearms and the hardwares, exchanging even all of those kind of physical fight. But where relationship between two individuals or even states, two parties, had actually gone really bad and deteriorated. And then again, they really are not positive, but you're not seeing a physical war as well. You could imagine that. But I wonder what is really happening in Rivers State that will suffice that kind of Cold War. Otherwise, what I would see that is a fiscal kind of crisis or confrontation is actually between the executive and the legislature. I wouldn't want to concede, for me, to any extraneous individual. That's any person outside of these four. The executive here now, we talk about the governor and his cabinet, and then the legislature, the Rivers State House of Assembly, as established by the Constitution under Section 90. Not the House in itself, because the House is more or less an artificial being. Yes, it can sue and be sued, it's an artificial being, but the elements that make the House, the human beings, you can have a difference with some individuals in the House, but not necessarily the House. The executive governor cannot have a problem with the Rivers State House of Assembly, but could have a problem with some individuals elected into the Rivers State House of Assembly. So if it is that intimidation by the House, then of course that is palpable, purportedly so, especially when I've not been asked the question as to who or which of these individuals in the Rivers State House of Assembly. But generally, there is a palpable, this is not Cold War, there is a palpable, visible crisis or skirmish, or if you like, dispute between the executive and the legislature in Rivers State, which all of us, well-meaning Rivers people, would wish that it ends even like now, apparently.
Yeah, but in your opinion, who is intimidating who? When the governor says intimidation will end, who was the governor inferring to?
I asked that rhetorical question myself. I think it's the governor alone that will speak that. I don't have to have an opinion in this.
Okay, fair enough. Barrister Asim Adams, yes. What is your take on the statement by the Rivers State governor?
You see, the statement made by the governor, for me, is vacuous, and at the same time, neither here nor there. I think there's a way we normally put issues of this nature. When you say relatively, who is intimidating who, and where has the intimidation come from? Now, under our constitution, Section 5 is very clear of the powers of the executive, the president, the governor. So if, for instance, a governor claims that he's being intimidated, under our Criminal Code Act, there's what we refer to as treasonable, felonies that is put upon a particular sitting president or governor, or if you bring the governor to awe, that the governor begins to, feel so afraid, then that is a crime under our laws. You cannot intimidate the governor and you bring him to awe. So the intimidation he's talking about here, I really cannot put it here or there. I believe that the intimidation he's talking about is not between his executive cabinet, it's not between himself and the judicature, and also I don't think relatively it's not between himself and the legislature. What I feel is that there's an external force that we all know, which happens in politics. For instance, if I want to conjecture what the governor means, is that the skirmish is an imbroglio between himself and the FCT minister. It's well known to all of us. If he calls that intimidation, well, I don't know where that will place him in terms of intimidation, as the case may be. But if you say it's a political war between the two of them, I will maybe somewhat agree, with his, opinion. At this point in time, I believe he should let us know who is intimidating him. And if we know who is intimidating him, then we can now provide solutions. Because why I'm saying this is that a governor cannot be intimidated under our laws. Now, if the governor of Rivers State is intimidated by any force, internal and external, there are ways to address it under our Criminal Code Act. And one of those is to report to the police that some people are intimidating me and trying to make me not do what I want to do as a governor of the state, as an executive. The police will look into it. So the kind of intimidation I believe he's talking about is political intimidation, which does happen in his political party, or that feud between himself and, Yesu Wike, which I don't know. But finally on this, I will say he will help us because, Sim always talks, I don't know whether he's speaking in parables, whether he read the books of Proverbs in the Bible, and always speaking in parables. His utterances are not really very clear to interpretations. Now, you find out that some of his aides now, today or tomorrow, you're going to see that when they ask them this kind of question, they begin to be conjectural. They cannot really place what the governor was trying to say. We need to do guesswork to say this. They analyze them and interpret it in different ways. It should be clearer than this, in my own opinion, so that we know where to tackle it.